Every dead MMO promised the exact things this one is about to promise you. No cash shop. A world that respects your time. Progress that lasts. And you watched every one of those promises break. Power sold at the store. Treadmills built around fear of missing out. Whole years of progress wiped on a schedule. Studios bought, and their word quietly evaporated. So here's the deal this series makes with you. We're not going to ask you to take a single promise on faith. Each episode takes one vow this game is bound to, and shows you the actual system that makes it true, running and passing on camera. Either the thing holds, or it doesn't. Receipts, not vibes. The game is called Darkerlight. It's being built by an independent studio in Canada, and it's aimed at one specific person, the MMO veteran who quit, not because they stopped loving these worlds, but because the worlds stopped respecting them. Its founding vision, locked in June 2026, is one sentence: a fair, honest world. When fairness collides with anything else, spectacle, revenue, growth, fairness wins. There's a bright line written into the founding documents that reads, in effect, never betray player trust. Shut the game down first. And the flagship promise, the one you're watching right now, is this. Darkerlight is one continuous, seamless world. No instances, no private copies of a dungeon spun up just for your group, while everybody else gets a parallel version. Walk into that dungeon, and you're in the same dungeon as everyone else on the server. That's rarer than it sounds. Most modern MMOs are, structurally, a lobby with doors. This is a place, and you can see it's a place. That ridge you just crossed had no loading screen, because there's nowhere to load to. It's all one world. Every game says it has values. Darkerlight wrote its values down as hard rules, a short list of nevers at the very top of the project's governing document, where every proposed change has to be checked against them, and anything that conflicts gets refused. We call it the Constitution. 6 of them matter most, and each one is a promise this series will have to make good on camera, in a later episode. No cash shop, ever. No in-game store selling items, boosts, conveniences, or cosmetics. There is nothing to buy inside this game, and there never will be. One subscription. A single monthly subscription. One tier, the same price and the same game for everyone. No premium editions, no battle passes, no pay-to-win of any kind, not even the soft versions. No instances. One shared world. Dungeons, cities, all of it. It's in the Constitution because it's expensive to honor and easy to quietly abandon the first time it's inconvenient. No flying mounts, ever. Flying trivializes a world. You skip every danger, every encounter, every discovery. Here, geography is content, so you cross it on the ground. A veteran's edge is a nudge, never a wall. In most MMOs, a newcomer doesn't just lose to a veteran, they mathematically cannot win. Darkerlight refuses that. A veteran's investment tilts a fight. It never decides it, and a newcomer is never shut out by the numbers. Skill decides fights. And that ceiling isn't a slogan. It's enforced by a rule in the server and tested automatically, which is exactly the kind of claim this show exists to prove. Server authoritative everything. The computer you play on is never trusted. Not with your position, your damage, your loot. The server decides all of it. That's the difference between an anti-cheat promise and an anti-cheat architecture. There's a longer list. No seasonal wipes, permanent progress, more. But you can hear the shape. These are the standard the whole series holds itself to. The project's first 3 days, June 16th through 18th, 2026, were a founding sprint. We settled almost everything structural in them. The operating principle locked first, and it's the one that governs this whole series. Everything gets built, then proven before it ships. Nothing counts as done on someone's say-so. It counts when it's shown working. An unusual scope rule came with it. If a feature can be built, tested, and run on camera, it's in. Features only wait when there's a real reason, like a tool for volunteers who don't exist yet. Then the world took shape. The vision interview. Fairness first, the bright line, the disillusioned player audience. The playable races locked. Human, elf, dwarf, orc. Identity, not power. Your race changes how you look and where you're from, never how hard you hit. The technology chosen. A free open source game engine and a major cloud platform for the servers, built from day one on the real architecture at small scale. So scaling is an engineering problem we grow into, not a rebuild we defer. And on June 18th, the name. Darkerlight, which we kept after attacking 10 coined alternatives cold, on tonal fit and a .com that's been owned since 2003. That was 3 days. Vision, rules, name, and foundation all settled. Then the slower work began, turning principles into proof. So, how does a promise become a receipt? Nothing ships until it's tested and reviewed cold. Every change, every time. Automated tests for every feature. The software actually run and watched behaving, never trusted on its own claim that it works. And a fresh eyes review run cold against the finished change, reading it as an opponent and trying to break it before anything gets merged. That's not a formality. You'll see episodes where the review bit hard, where that review found a real security hole, or the tests caught a mistake before a single player would ever have hit it. The point of the show isn't that the work is flawless, it's the opposite. The work is checkable, and we check it in front of you. Every never in that constitution has an always-on enforcement behind it. Every proposed change measured against the list, forever, and refused if it breaks one. This series only works if it's honest. So here's the honest part. The founding documents already admit the hard limits. Consistency you can enforce. Taste you can't. So the look is built on proven, handcrafted art rather than shortcuts. There's genuinely novel engineering ahead that no amount of confidence de-risks in advance. And a project with no deadline runs on one non-renewable resource, the will to keep going, week after week, with no external clock forcing the pace. That one gets its own episode. But the whole bet stays checkable. Either the world exists and you can walk around in it, or it doesn't. That's the standard. And it's the reason there's no calendar here. Each episode is gated on one thing genuinely resolving. A promise proven on camera, running, and passing. No deadline. Because a deadline is exactly what breaks the promises we started this episode with. So that's the premise. An independent studio in Canada, holding itself to a constitution it isn't allowed to break, and proving each promise on camera, one real milestone at a time. One world, and no exceptions. One place you all share, and not one exception to the rules that make it fair. Episodes ship when something real resolves. A locked decision, a proven system, evidence on screen, not on a calendar. Next, the date we refused to set, and why building without a ship date is what protects the promises this episode is about. The game is Darkerlight. This is the record of it being made.